welcome. Today we're doing a tutorial for this easy single crochet bra top. I'm using Paintbox yarns DK cotton in the colour washed teal and a 4mm crochet hook. I'm going to start by creating a slip knot and a chain of 18 stitches, which is a size C cup. Check in the description box below for the full list of sizes so you know how many chains to start with. You can also measure this on yourself to make sure that you have exactly the right size for you. The chain will need to start at the very centre and go down to the bottom of your bust where the bra would sit. I've got my 18 stitches. I'm going to chain 1 to turn and begin working in single crochet. We are not starting in the stitch directly below the hook, it's going to be the next one. Insert your hook into that stitch and begin working in single crochet. We're then going to carry on inserting the hook into each stitch and putting one single crochet into every stitch as we go along. So this is number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. Now when you reach the last stitch, you're going to insert your hook as normal and create a single crochet. You're then going to insert your hook back into number 18 again, pull through another single crochet and one final time. So in total you're putting 3 stitches into your end stitch, which for me is number 18, for you will be the same number that you started with at the beginning. We've now turned around to the corner and we're going to carry on and crochet into the back of each of these stitches, turning us back on ourselves the way we just came. So insert your hook into the next stitch, which for me is number 17 because I've just done 18, and I would recommend counting to make sure that you have exactly the same number of stitches on this side, because it can be quite easy to miss some out and your bra cup will end up not symmetrical. You can see here that what we've done is created a line of crochet and then gone back on ourselves and followed back down that very same line, and I would class that as one row. To begin row 2, chain 1 to turn the work and continue working in single crochet. Now in the last row we put 3 stitches into the very central top stitch, which for me was number 18. That means in this row we're going to put 3 stitches into stitch number 19. So just remember, you're going to be increasing by 2 stitches on either side, with 1 stitch remaining central at all times, which for me on this row is now going to be stitch number 19, so there should be 18 stitches on the left hand side and on the right hand side. I'd recommend that you keep an eye on this as you go along. This is stitch number 18, and next we have the very top stitch, which for me is number 19. So I'm going to insert my hook and insert 3 single crochets into this top stitch. You can pop a stitch marker into this top stitch to help you. This means you don't have to count and you can easily see where the central stitch is on each row and just move it along as you work. Then continue to work in single crochet until you reach the end of row 2. If you're enjoying the tutorial so far, please give it a thumbs up and I would love for you to subscribe. This is what it will look like at the end of row 2, and we're going to carry on exactly the same, chain 1 to turn the work and begin row 3. So one more stitch on top of what we just did. For me that means I'm going to have 19 stitches with stitch number 20 being the very top, which I would insert 3 single crochets into stitch number 20. I'm now at the top, I'm at stitch number 20 and I'm going to insert 3 single crochets to turn and then carry on working in single crochet 1 stitch into every chain until you reach the end of row 3. Here we are at the end of row number 3. I would recommend folding the work in half just to check that you have equal stitches on both sides, just in case you haven't been counting, just to make sure that you have the correct number of stitches on each side so that you can carry on knowing that the work is going to turn out the right size. From here, carry on working exactly the same way, placing 3 stitches into the very central stitch at the top, and continue working until you've reached a size that looks like a good fit for you. You'll need to stop once the piece looks the right size for you. This is approximately 14 rows or so, but you can really do as many rows as you need to create the right size. I'm just about to do my final row. I have 30 stitches on each side and 31 will be the stitch right in the center at the top. This is stitch number 30, and now I'm going to place my 3 stitches in the very top stitch, which for me is stitch number 31, and then single crochet in the last 30 stitches back down to the bottom. Once you reach the end of your very final row, go ahead and grab some scissors and cut the thread. Then chain through and pull the yarn all the way through so that it's not going to unravel. You will need to make a note of the stitch that you ended on because we need to recreate this for the second cup. So for me, I increased into stitch number 31, which means that if I were now to count, I would have 31 stitches with 1 in the middle at the top, which is stitch number 32. So go ahead and recreate exactly the same as you did to start with. You can rewatch the video again if you need to create the second cup. So here we have the second one, which I have gone ahead and created. You can then hold the 2 pieces together just to check that they are roughly the same size. Sometimes the tension can mean that one turns out a little bit different, so just hold them together to make sure that they look the same. Another thing to check is you have the border stitch, which is running along the front of the piece. You cannot see this as well from the inside, so this is one thing to check just before we move on to the next step, that both of your pieces are facing the front when you join them together and that you don't have one facing inside out. So make sure that you can see the border visible on both of your pieces. Next, you want to carefully move these to one side and pick up your yarn and hook again, and we're going to start by making a slip knot and a chain. I'm chaining 18 stitches, but the best thing to do is to measure this against yourself if you want to hold the bra cup in place. You can see how long the chain needs to be to travel from the edge of the cup round to almost at the middle of your back, but you want to leave a little bit of space. So because everybody's a different size, you can really chain as many stitches here as you feel you need to get a good fit for your specific shape. I've got my chain of 18 stitches, and now what you want to do is get your bra cups and turn them so that they are facing upside down. Make sure that they are both with the front facing you so you can see the border stitch. Then I'm going to take the hook with the chain on it and insert into the very end stitch right in the corner and pull through a single crochet. Then we're going to carry on working along the bottom of the cup, inserting a single crochet as we go along. You don't need to put a single crochet into every stitch, just do as many as you find will naturally fit, and try and remember the amount of crochet stitches that you have inserted so that you can replicate the same amount when you move on to attaching the next one. When you get to the end, go ahead and single crochet right into the very edge stitch. Make sure that you don't miss that one out. And then you want to move straight on to the next one. I did a total of around 24 single crochets across the bottom. This will vary depending on how large or how small your cup turns out. Just remember the number that you've put, so when you insert your crochet hook into the very first stitch of the second bra cup, that will count as your single crochet number 1, and continue working across exactly the same way and put the same number of stitches if you can. Once you come to the end, put a single crochet into the very end stitch, and then we're going to make a chain to match the other side. So I chained up 18 stitches, which is hanging on the other end, so I want to make another chain of 18 so that it's exactly the same. Then once you've finished your chain, you're going to chain 1 to turn the work around, and we're going to work back on ourselves the other way. You're going to work single crochet into each of the chain stitches and then continue straight on into the single crochet on the bottom of each of the cups, and then again into the chain on the opposite side. I've now just finished the very last stitch for this row. I'm going to chain 1 to turn, and we're going to carry on working single crochet and do as many rows as you feel necessary, and this is to create the band that goes around the bottom of the bralette. So you can make it really long if you want it to be more of a top, or you can even leave it quite small. It'll be more of a bikini style bralette. So as many rows as you feel needed. If you want to, you can do these in double crochet if you're wanting to save a bit of time. I'm going to carry on in single crochet just because I quite enjoy the uniformity of having it all looking exactly the same, but it will be much quicker. If you want to, go ahead and use double crochet for this band. I've now finished creating my band. I actually did 18 rows, and the one thing to make sure you look out for is just check that you finish on a row where you can see the border stitch, because it creates quite a nice finish where you can match the border all the way around. The bottom edge is the same as the border stitch that you can see around the top of both of the cups. Once you reach the end, don't cut the thread off because we are going to finish off the edges. I've finished one single crochet in the bottom row. I'm going to go ahead and put another single crochet into that corner stitch, and that's to turn around the corner so that we're now working on the edge. From here, I'm going to create a chain of 3 stitches, and this is to create the loop to fasten the strap to. Once you have a chain of 3, you want to skip out 3 stitches on the bottom and insert your hook in the 4th stitch and pull through a single crochet. I am then going to work through single crochet until I reach the top, where I will do another loop of 3 stitches. If you've got a larger band than mine, you might want to add a few more loops, so just try and space them out as evenly as you can. So you'll want to stop when you're roughly 3 stitches away from the end, and then you're going to chain up 3 and then fasten them right in the very top corner. From here I am going to just carry on working around the corner, insert one more single crochet to turn around the corner, and I'm going to neaten up this top edge just to give it the same border stitch that the rest of the work has got. You don't have to do this, you can leave it where it is, but I think it looks quite nice just to neaten up that edge. I am now just at the very end. You can see there's one more stitch where I'm going to pull through right at the join where the band meets the edge of the bra cup, and then at this point go ahead and cut the yarn and pull the end through. You can see here we have 2 really nice little loops for the strap to go through, and the edges are all nice and neat. We're going to need to do this on the other side. Now, instead of attaching the yarn on the bottom left hand corner, this would actually mean that you're going to be working on the back of the work. So what I would recommend that you do here is fasten the thread at the point where we just finished, and that means that we're going to be working on the same side, so the border will be on the top. So we're going to go ahead and attach the yarn. This is going in the very edge stitch of the band where the band meets the cup. I've just done this by going ahead and creating a slip knot, hooking it onto my hook and then pull it through. And then we're going to work in single crochet to create a border and the loops exactly the same way that we did just now on the opposite side. Remember, when you're at the very corner stitch, you're going to do 1 single crochet on the side that we've just been working on, and then we're going to insert another single crochet into the exact same stitch to turn the corner. And then create a chain of 3 stitches, exactly the same that we did before. Once you have finished making the second loop and gone into the very edge corner stitch, you can go ahead and cut your yarn and then pull it through to finish this section. The last step is to create the straps. So to do this you want to find the very top point of the bra cup and attach your yarn at this point. We're then going to go ahead and create a chain. This needs to be really long because the strap needs to not only go over your shoulders to create the crossback, but also lace up and tie in a bow at the back. So I did around 150 stitches. You can do even more, you could go up to 200 depending on how long you think you need the strap to be in order to reach. Once you've reached the end, you're going to then slip stitch all the way back down to the beginning. To slip stitch, you can do this by inserting your hook into the next stitch and pulling the yarn through and through the loop that you have on your hook. So you're not single crocheting, just slip stitch all the way back down until you reach the beginning. Once you've reached the end and you've slip stitched into every single stitch, make sure you include the very last one. We then want to anchor this down. So insert your hook into the very first stitch that we started right at the top of the bra cup and pull the yarn through to anchor it. Go ahead and cut the thread, and we're going to sew these ends in a minute. Then you're going to want to go ahead and do exactly the same thing on the opposite cup to create another strap. Our final step is to sew in the ends to make sure it's all nice and secure and looks perfect. You can see I've done this one on the right hand side already. So to do this you need to grab a darning needle. The best way to thread it is to wrap the yarn around the outside of the needle and then poke this folded end through the eye of the needle. This means that the yarn isn't going to split and it should be much easier. Then from here you want to hide this tail in the back of some of these stitches. So you want to make sure you're working on the inside of your work. So if the thread is on the front like mine, poke through and turn around so that you're on the inside. You then need to poke the needle along the back of some of your stitches and pull the yarn through. You can then go back again the other way to make sure that your tail is really nice and secure. You can then trim off the end and it should be completely hidden. To lace up the design and create the crossback, turn it over so that the front is facing down. And you want to begin by taking the right hand strap and place it through the top loop on the left, and then take the left hand strap and place it through the top loop on the right. Then take these ends and create a simple crisscross into the bottom loops and you'll be able to tie it in a bow at the bottom. And we are all done. I hope you've enjoyed the tutorial. Remember, if you post any pictures on Instagram, give me a tag. It's IA Knitwear. I would love to see what you've done, and do feel free to send me a message to let me know how you found it went.